Welcome to another episode of the Roughly Related to Reselling podcast. My name is Perry Phillips. I go by Perry Flips with a Z on Instagram. Flips and Giggles is the eBay store, and it's also the username for us on Whatnot. So you can find us there. If you want to go over to Whatnot, got some shows already up on the page. So go ahead and bookmark those so you know when those shows come out, and it helps us out tremendously. If you like the podcast and you are feeling it, you're digging it, tell your friends, subscribe, and then make sure you hit the notification so you know exactly when the episodes come out. They've been coming out every Wednesday so far. I'm trying to keep it consistent on Wednesday, even though it's like one of my busier days. But it's been working out, so we'll see. I might have to take a couple breaks. My kids are upstairs. I had to do something I don't do all the time. I had to give them tablets and just be like, yo, sit here. Because if they were up in the room together, it wouldn't get done today. I can tell just by the way they're, you know. And it's a little bit nice out today. Like, it was freezing the last few days. And my daughter's been sick. She's had a cough for like 3 weeks. I got it now. So it just wasn't getting better. And then she finally got a fever. So we took her to the doctor last week, and they were like, oh yeah, just, they gave her a prescription for some Flonase shit. And we're like, yeah, just keep giving her cough stuff. And if she gets another fever, have her come back. So of course, she didn't stop having fevers for a couple days. They're low grade, and we're giving her ibuprofen and shit. But then we had to go back to the doctor, and then they finally gave her antibiotics. It's why the fuck didn't you just do that in the first place? They weren't sure if it was pneumonia. So then I guess it turned into pneumonia 2 days later. I mean, could happen. I don't fucking know. I'm constantly arguing with my wife about shit I don't know about. So I have a little bit of a cough too. I hope it's not pneumonia. I don't feel sick or anything like that. I just have a cough that won't go away. And I'm over it. Really over it. So my kid's been home she stayed home Friday. And then obviously the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Hoping she's good to go back to school tomorrow. She was close today, but she had a fever still this morning. And was just not feeling good. So I'm hoping that we're done. But it's the next sickness is right around the corner. It's that time of year. Kids are all stuck inside. But yeah, it's nice today. Like I said, we're gonna finish this and then go take my mom's dog for a walk because it's not too cold. I mean, it's probably gonna get cooler, I'm sure, as the day goes on. But earlier it was kind of nice. So anyway, another week of reselling. We have a Whatnot show tonight, 8:30. We've got new old stock Star Wars toys. These toys, the yard sale I went to over the summer, I mentioned it before, where I got my best haul probably of the year. I got video games, I got old toys, I got Pokemon plush. I still have a ton of the stuff listed, and I've already made at least a couple $1,000s from that haul. I paid $250 for everything. But I left them my info. And I was like, hey, if you guys come across anything else, let me know. I'd love to buy it. So they reached out and they're like, hey, we cleaned out some more stuff if you want to come by. So it was a PlayStation 1 with a few games. The console's complete though. It's complete in the box. So there's that. And then there was, the fuck was it? Console, some games, some 80 or 70s or 80s Star Wars toys, some Star Wars cups and glasses, that type of stuff. And then on top of that, he threw in another bag of stuff, robotics or something like that. It's just a pile of pieces and shit. It's gonna be a nightmare to have to deal with that. I'm just gonna dump it out on the floor and take a picture of it, and somebody will buy it. So I got that stuff, and then on top of that, he had 3 of the Hasbro boxes that come from the company. When they send you a box of toys. So you had 3 of those, and those were all filled with Star Wars toys from, early 2000s. I don't think they're the 90s because they're like the Attack of the Clones. So they're like, he had some power of the force. I know those things aren't super valuable or super sought after, and I know a lot of people have them. But he had a bunch of those, and then he had just stuff I don't see all the time for Star Wars stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the Attack of the Clones actual like set, he had those. So I've looked a couple of them up. They're not by any means worth a ton of money. So I was happy to get that in the bundle because we were trying to figure out what we were going to do for Whatnot this Wednesday or tonight. So we didn't really have anything planned. But I've been scheduling these shows in advance so that way we can, have them down. So yeah, so I got all that stuff from this guy. I was pretty pumped about that. So we've got a bunch of new old stock Star Wars stuff. I think there's at least one autographed figure in there. So if you're listening to this and you want to come check it out, let us know. And then in a couple weeks on Christmas Eve and then New Year's Eve as well, we're going to be doing Whatnot shows, but we're not really going to be selling. We will if people are wanting to buy stuff. But we're going to be doing like a hangout. We're probably going to be wrapping presents, and we usually watch Black Christmas and drink eggnog while we wrap our kids' Christmas presents. So we're going to do that for a little bit on Christmas Eve, and then New Year's Eve we'll do another little hangout, and we'll do like some giveaways and stuff. And that'll get us through the end of the year, and then we got to start figuring out what we're going to do for the rest of for 2026 because we just started Whatnot, and I feel like it's been a pretty fast growth, compared to other sites and stuff. And I think if we do a few more shows, get on a couple other raid trains, I think we'll be in a good spot in 2026. And the Whatnot, I think, really helps the podcast. I think it really does. I think that's like the main beneficiary. It's not my wallet. I've spent more money selling stuff on Whatnot than I've actually think I've made. There's been a couple good shows that we did well on, but then there's been just more busts than anything else. But we're getting followers and we're having fun and getting better at it, I think. I hope. Maybe. So we'll see how that goes. Tonight, join us for that tonight. But I was pumped that they called me. He said that they have more stuff too. He thinks I can tell. I walked up, he had the Legend of Zelda welcome mat on his, in front of his house. And, he had a bunch of stuff just kind of out while I was there. And so, I told him, I was like, if you got anything else, let me know. If there's anything else you want me to take right now. He's like, I'll take a look and let you know. So I know he's got more stuff because I found accessories to like G.I. Joes and then other random shit that just, you can tell he's probably got more. So, and I should say that I spent $175 and, I don't think I'm going to make a ton of money, but I should easily like the console, and there was Skull Monkeys. Is that the game? I think it was called Skull Monkeys. It was something for PS1 that's like $100 to $125 game. So I knew I'd make my money back on the PlayStation bundle. I knew I would be able to sell that easily, especially this time of year. So I'm going to get that tested today and then listed. And I had to get a new phone yesterday. I didn't have to, but my wife's been bugging me. She wants a new phone. My phone's cracked, but it's cracked in the back, so it doesn't really bother me. But my screen protector's cracked, and I'm too cheap to buy a new screen protector. So I'm like, this one still works. I keep dropping my phone. I've dropped that phone I don't know how many times. Like, this is gonna be it. And then I spent all night not all night, but I started ordering the phones like 2 days ago. I used to sell phones for a living, right? So I know how the whole process works. I know how to look for all the discounts, all that stuff. So I started doing that, and I had to change the plan and shit. So I keep going to do it, and like, these offers aren't coming up, and I'm like, I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. So I go do it tomorrow. I get it, orders all done, ready to go. I figure out how to do it. So I'm like, I'm going to call, customer care and just see if they can waive the fees. Because I know if you do it and then ask them, they're probably not going to do it. They might. But if you call them and you're like, hey, I'm about to hit accept on this, but I don't want to pay these fees. Like, is there any way around that? They'll be like, well, I can process it for you. So I should have just done that to begin with and saved myself some time. But he was like, yeah, I'll just process it. So he processed the order for me, did it exactly how I wanted. I had him read everything back because I know they fuck stuff up sometimes. So he read everything back. Everything looked good. But then he doesn't tell me that I have to, like, he's like, yeah, you're all set. You should be good. You know, you don't have to do anything else. And then it should be like an hour before your phone's ready. So I go in the store like an idiot, like 2.5 hours later. And I'm like, hey, you know, they said the phone's supposed to be ready. And he looks it up. And then this guy helped me like 3 days prior. You can tell he's the manager of the place because he just fucking was useless. Just like, he was like trying to get me out of the store. I'm like, I was literally there to buy a phone. Like I was going to buy a phone that day. And he was just like, for some reason, he didn't think I was serious. I don't fucking know. I told him, I was like, I'm going to buy a phone. Like I used to sell phones for Verizon. I'm here to buy a phone. And he was just like, yeah. So he was there when I go in to get the phone. And he's helping me. He's like, I see the pending order, but it's saying that there's like a hold. And like, he's like, I can't look it up. And so I'm like, all right, I go home, call customer care. They're trying to have me cancel the order and redo it so they can get the commission, whoever this person is. And I'm like, well, it's already done. Like, there's got to be a reason that's being held up. Like, and so I look and there's an action that I need to do. It's like, I had to authorize who I was or something, or verify who I was. So then the process started, and then it was like another 3 hours from there. And I'm not like in a rush to get my phone. Like I said, I've gone 5+ years, I think, with this phone. And, sorry, I'm like wheezing and shit. I probably have pneumonia too. And yeah, so I'm like, 5 years plus with this phone. I wasn't in a huge rush, but it was just a process because I had to keep going back out to deal with it. So then they get the phone. I ordered them. I go to pick them up, and I'm like, oh, let me get a case here. The case I want, they're like, oh, these are recalled. We don't have them. And I forgot how annoying it is to get phone. I'm like, this was the biggest hurdle when I used to sell phones. It's like, they'd be like, sell these phones. And then people would want accessories to go with their phones, and we would have them, but like, we wouldn't have a great choice. We'd get a ton of stuff for like, Black Friday and all that stuff. But most of the time it was just like trying to find cases and accessories. So I'm trying to find a screen protector. I finally find one at Target. I'm like, all right, Target has it. And it wasn't saying it was the 17. It was like the iPhone 16.9. I'm like, that's not even a thing. So then I get the case, screen protector, get the case. Now we got to find my wife one, and she's getting the Google Pixel. That's what she's had, so that's what she wanted. And they don't even have cases for it. Like I went to Walmart and Target, no cases, no screen protectors for it. So she had to order that shit online. But yeah, my phone came last night, I got my phone yesterday. I didn't even touch it. I just put it to the side. I'm like, I looked at it real quick just to make sure there wasn't any issues with it. Put it back in the box, put it away. And then once the kids went to bed, I was like, all right, I got to delete everything off my phone because I have all the pictures from, I take pictures of all the stuff, and I'm really bad about deleting them. And so there's just a fuck ton of pictures. So I spent like 3 hours last night on the couch just fucking deleting shit. So I'm like, all right, finally deleted everything by like 11:15. And I was like, all right, I'll activate my phone. I know how long it takes for like that stuff. It'll just back up overnight. My phone will be ready in the morning. So I do that. I put it, back my shit up. Go to bed late because I'm doing fucking with this phone for 3 hours. Wake up, everything reloads, and all my fucking pictures are back on the phone. Like not even just on the cloud, but just back on the phone. Because I know you have to delete them from the cloud, but I'm like, fucking A, what? Like I just deleted these. Why would you? Wouldn't you just like be like, hey, you just deleted these? Like you got smart technology and you can't even fucking check with me. So now I have all these pictures that I just spent hours deleting that I have to do that again and delete them all off this new phone. So I'm going to be better about deleting these pictures off my phone. Or I need to get another phone and just use that because I think that's what I might do. I traded in my phone, but now I'm kind of annoyed that I did. I should have just kept it or kept my wife's and just used that as to take pictures because, it would be a lot easier. Oh, fuck this cough. It would be much easier. So anyway, yeah, so now I have a new phone. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my train of thought. So let's go back to, let's see. Where do I want to start with this? Because I'm like, almost 15 minutes in here. And I'm trying to think of what's a good jumping off point because I got a few things to talk about. I might just go in order of the weekend because why not? So, I'll talk about this. So today I went to do a marketplace pickup. It wasn't for me. It was a gift for my mom. And is that like trashy to get? It was pre-owned, but like it's something that's expensive. And I don't think she listens to this podcast. So it was like an expensive like kitty litter thing. Cause she's old, you know what I mean? She's got a fucking cat. She's got to like empty that shit. It's probably a pain in the ass. So this is supposed to make it so she doesn't have to clean it up like as often. And it's just like a bag that you pull out. So she doesn't have to like scoop shit out or do any of that. It's just supposed to do like all that stuff for you. It looks barely like it's been used. Like the lady said that she put it out for her cat and her kids were climbing in it. So she had to get rid of it. So yeah, I got it like for fucking like $50. So I don't know. Is that trashy? I mean, it might be a little trashy. I bought my wife it was brand new, but I bought my wife a vacuum last year for Christmas from an estate sale. It was an extra present though. It wasn't like, I'd already been done shopping and I saw this pop up. So I was like, all right, I'll get this as well because we need it. And then, she can get another present to open. So, but I was going there today to go pick this up. And, I wanted to go early because I was getting ready to like head out to go to the post office and do that shit. My daughter stayed home again today, so we didn't have to go to the school. Normally I go right after school. And the lady's like, oh, can you come at noon? So fine, I'll come at noon. Go to the post office, go get gas, go get cash. And I'm on my way and I get on the highway and like there's one car in front of me and then up ahead you could see they've got a truck with the lane change signal on the back, like one of those big ass trucks. And then ahead of that, there's an accident, but it just happened. Like the cops aren't even there. It's just people like trying to, I don't even know how this happened. Like that truck must have been there already. And they weren't paying attention or something because that truck was just like chilling. There was a big fucking truck. You couldn't miss it. And so I'm pulling up, I'm behind this guy and he stops his car like at the, like right where you got to go around this truck. He stops his car and there's like, a line of cars that behind us. And I'm like, fuck, did I just like get stuck in this traffic? Like, what is this guy doing? So he gets out and he's like fully decked out in a Coast Guard uniform. And he's just moving debris off the street in front of him so he could get by, so everybody could get by. There was like a tire. And I'm like, where the fuck does this tire come from? And I look over and the big ass thing with the sign, the truck with the sign that's telling people to move over, its tires completely off. So it's just fucking chilling on the highway. So somehow I think one of these cars like either hit it or something. This is just based on what I'm saying. I have no fucking idea what happened. It wasn't a bad accident, but there was like multiple cars in front. And so I got through and then a big ass truck was coming and you could just see that the traffic just stopped. Like that was it. I was the last one to get through. And the traffic stopped. I would have been stuck for hours. They're going to have to shut that shit down for hours because of the truck. Like that truck is missing a fucking tire. Like that big ass truck's not going anywhere. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty quick to change the tire, but I don't know if they did damage to it. Like if they fucking hit it and knocked the tire, like that's the only thing that makes sense. The tire was completely off. Like it wasn't just sitting there and the tire just exploded off. Like that thing had to have been hit. And yeah, it wasn't a bad accident, like I said. It was just, the one car was fucked up, like the front end, but that was about it. And then the other cars, I don't even think the other cars were involved. I think they just stopped because, why not stop? So there's more cars involved. And, but yeah, we're going to be doing a quick Facebook Marketplace pickup, kids. No, it was fucking almost a nightmare. So I lucked out really, really fucking good on that one. That would have sucked. All right, so let's go back to last week. Let's talk about the last week of reselling. So I've been looking at some storage units, trying to find some to buy because we're running low on inventory for whatnot. Facebook or eBay, we've got enough stuff to kind of get through. I've got a ton of video games still to list, some jewelry, like enough to get me through till spring. But I was like, let's try to get a storage unit. I got a little bit of extra cash right now. Let's fucking let's do it. So I found a couple that I was interested in and like, lost out on those. They went way too high. Went to one in person on Thursday. So I went to one on Thursday in person in the morning, and there was one unit. It was supposed to be, I don't know how many it was supposed to be, but it ended up just being one unit. It was like all closed, kind of smelled like cigarettes. So like 200 I was comfortable spending. And the units that when you go to them in person usually don't go that high. So this one started at $50. I bid it up to like 200, and then this other guy just kept bidding. And they bid it up to like 350. I'm like, I can't even like gamble with 350 on this. So remember that part where I was like, I can't take a gamble on this, So I passed on it. Found another storage unit online. It was just 5 like black and yellow totes. So I'm like, all right, who's going to store 5 totes? You know what I mean? Like there's got to be something in there they're paying for storage on. So, I keep bidding, and then it gets to a point where like, the bidding's slowing down, and then somebody outbids me. I'm like, oh fuck. So I bid, and then they keep waiting till it gets down to like 11 seconds, and then they bid again. So it kept resetting the clock. So this was just pissing me off. I was mad that I missed out on the unit earlier. I just got caught up in the moment like a fucking idiot, and I just kept bidding. So I bid it up to $350 and won the unit. So I go to pick it up, and I'm talking to the manager, and he's like, yeah, I usually, take a peek in in those sealed up totes just to see kind of what's in there, but I didn't even touch them this time. I didn't even look at them. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Then he's telling me how people break in. He's had problems with people breaking in, trying to steal shit. I'm like, oh, that seems kind of odd as well. And so we get to the unit. He opens it, and he fucking skedaddles. And I go, and as soon as I touch the first tote, I'm like, this is empty. And then all 5 totes were empty. Nothing in there. What I should have done at that point was leave those totes in the unit, walked back up to the manager and been like, yo, I want a refund because you just basically like told me that you go through the unit sometimes. And you were just like setting me up for like, oh, they're empty. We had people breaking in. I just told you that. So I should have like, done that. I was kind of in a rush, and I didn't know how. I figured I was just on the hook for that. So I reported the place it was storagetreasures.com. So I reported the storage company to storagetreasures.com just because that was sketchy. You know what I mean? You're telling me you're going through units when you're not really supposed to. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously they're like, oh, you should have just, you should, and if that happens again, you don't buy anything. You just tell them you want a refund before you take anything out of the unit. So that's what I should have done. So yeah, over $400 down the drain. So nothing in that unit. And then to top it off, the bins, the yellow and black ones are usually Costco, which are nicer bins. These were like Walmart brand fucking shitty bins. So yeah, basically paid over $400 for empty bins, which was not fun. So then Friday, I'm like, all right, there's an estate sale. Like, let's try to turn this weekend around. They do a digital list, so you have to sign up. Like when they put the list out, you have to sign up on like a Google form. And so they put the list out, and I signed up like less than 10 minutes later. Normally I sign up like a day later, 2 days later, whatever. So, and I usually end up still like top 20. So she, the sale's a couple weeks after that. She reaches out with my number, and I have number 14. I'm like, how the fuck did I get 14? I was one of the first people, definitely. And so, I was annoyed about the storage unit. So I was just, at this point, I'm like, everybody's out to get me. So I text the lady, because I've texted her before and shit about stupid shit. I was just like, hey, are you sure this is accurate? Like, I don't know how I got number 14. I immediately replied to the email as soon as you guys sent it out. And somehow I'm number 14. It just doesn't really... She's like, no, I assure you, dude. There's like a bunch of people that signed up right in those first 5-10 minutes. I'm like, there's no way. These are all like boomers who, they have to go log into their computer and, do that shit. So I'm like, all right, 14, whatever, And they had a radio there in the pictures. It was a Fada, F-A-D-A. So I had looked that up and I was like, oh, that shit's worth some money. You could tell this estate sale company prices some stuff high and some stuff they're just like, whatever. So something like that, I know they're not going to price. They'll probably price it at like $5 to $10. And so that's what I was looking for. That was like the one thing I was looking for. There's some American Girl dolls, but I knew they would be too expensive, which they were. And so I went to I found the room that they were in the picture, and I like asked the lady that was up there about this orange radio, and she's like, oh, somebody else was just looking for it. So I'm like, now like the hunt is on. I'm looking and looking. And I assumed somebody had already grabbed it. So then I guess the lady found it somewhere else in the house. So if I had just gone somewhere else, I would have found it instead of going right to where it was. But so I missed out on that. And then I tried to buy the American Girls, like, how much do you want for the collection? They're like, oh, we're not splitting it up. So whatever the price is. And they had them marked at like, $80 a doll with no clothes. And then the clothes, each bag was marked like something ridiculous. So I was like, all right, that's not going to work for me. I just, to give you an example, I just sold like an American Girl with the clothes for like $200. You know what I mean? So if they're asking 80 plus the clothes, there's not much wiggle room. And depending on the doll, it really depends. You know what I mean? That doll was more sought after, so it sold for $200. I still have one sitting for $200 that's not going to sell for $200. You know what I mean? So, bam, another miss on Friday. I'm like, man. And, most people at this point would be like, I'm done for the weekend. I'm not going out. There's no sales that are going to be getting me out of the house. But there was 2 sales. So there was one sale that had been posted like weeks ago. So I had that one already on my list. I couldn't even find that sale after the fact. And that sale actually ended up being busier than the one that was listed like the day before. So there's one sale listed Friday, and it was just said estate sale, but it said like clothing, records, this, that, and the other. So I'm like, oh, it might be a ton of people here, but it just was posted, so we'll see. So I get there to the sale about 30 minutes early because I had my kids with me. So I had them I parked in the driveway and was like, oh, can I park in the driveway with my kids with me? So they stayed there and chilled, whatever. So then I go and I start to go up and they have a garage full of stuff. There's a guy looking through tools. So I just take a quick glance around. I'm like, it's not really anything for me. There's some clothes, but so the lady's like, oh, if you're looking for clothes, because she saw me kind of looking at them, she's like, there's a ton more inside. So I was like, oh, is the sale inside too? She's like, yeah, but I got to go in with you because it's kind of, dangerous. Like this house is kind of falling apart. So I go in the living room. There's just bags of clothes. And they're all old. So I found a bunch of T-shirts, like nothing crazy, but good stuff for our whatnot. And then I found, what was it? So I go upstairs. There's like a bunch of Ben Cooper masks. I got a ton of stuff. Like nothing there's a couple things that I think will be worth some money. Like there was it had to have been like an antique dress. You could tell it was just so old. But you can tell it's something that will sell. Like, it's got a couple tears in it, but it's probably 100-year-old dress more. And I wasn't even looking at it. And she's just like, she kept trying to, she'd be like, oh, it's such a nice dress. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you should take it. I'm like, all right. So I took like these old antique nightgowns, or dresses, whatever the fuck they are, which I never would have grabbed. But, I'm looking up antique dresses that are kind of similar, trying to describe it, and they look like they sell for some good money. And then on top of that, there was some World War II era, like, military pants, and she wanted me to take those as well. I'm sorry, man, this cough is fucking, and I'm not going to edit it out, so I just apologize. You're going to hear me coughing the whole time. And so, yeah, she's got, like, the 3rd floor, and she's telling me her 96-year-old dad who just passed away, like that's where he lived. He didn't live on the 3rd floor, but he lived in the house, and he didn't go up to the 3rd floor. So all that stuff had been just there forever. So I got some cool like older toys, little things, and then yeah, but like those clothes, and I'm trying to think, there was something else. I don't really remember, but I got a ton of stuff from that sale. And when I went to go pay, she's like, oh, it's 30 too much? And I was like, no, I'll give you 40. I'm like, that's fine. Like she gave me a ton of stuff. So, she was very happy with the $40. And then I went to the next sale, which was, 15 minutes away. And it was a little bit of a drive to get to the first sale. So I'm glad it was worth it. And so I get to this other sale. This one had been, like I said, listed like weeks ago, thinking it's going to be dead. And I get there and there's cars everywhere. So I pull up, I go inside, and I hear a voice of somebody I know. So I go and say what's up to him. I tell him about the other sale. I'm like, yo, there's a hoarder house like 15 minutes from here. I was like, I have my kids, but I didn't feel like digging. I dug some stuff out, but there's probably a shit ton of stuff left that I didn't get to. So I told him, and hopefully he went and spent some money with that lady. But he bought some cool stuff that they had, and that place was cheap as fuck. Like I got, there was a lot of higher end stuff, but they weren't charging like nearly anything. It was another estate clean out. Like this guy's dad had passed away, and so like they had these two Ladro. I always forget how to say that. Ladro, those glass like expensive figurines, and so I was like, how much for these two? It was like a set. He's like, I got $5. It's like, you know, so it's kind of like shit. I wish I'd come here a little bit earlier, but because there was like more higher value stuff, but. The stuff that the guy who I usually compete with, the guy who I saw that was there, you know, we usually compete for similar stuff. And the stuff that he had, that he was able to pull out, like it wasn't stuff that I probably would have even wanted to deal with. So yeah, it ended up being a good day on Saturday. Got that stuff. And then later that day is when the guy from the yard sale hit me up and said they had more stuff. So that was cool. So it's, you know, Thursday, Friday was just like, fuck, man. Reselling's crazy because some days you're like, I'm the best fucking reseller there is. These other resellers are terrible. Oh shit. Sorry, I have my new phone. I'm like still fucking figuring out. So like some days, yeah, you just feel like you're the best reseller in the world, and then other days you're just like, man, I should just fucking get a job bartending or something. I would like at this point, there's no going back for me. I can't go back to a regular job after doing this job. So I just, you know, you got to take your lumps sometimes. And at least it's at the end of the year. You know what I mean? I can write that shit off. So it would be nice to have an additional $400 right now, especially since I didn't get anything to show for it. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's like probably the worst loss I've ever taken on a single, you know, investment is just like empty bins. Even that storage unit where I paid like $100 and it was the rat horde, even that one was not as like, you know, was not as much of a loss as this one. And that one was actually a net positive. You know what I mean? I didn't really have to clean it out. I got some good shit to sell. Probably got some weird diseases, but you know, it wasn't as bad as opening up a unit. And, you know, at least it took me 2 seconds, but it was like, as soon as I opened it and touched the fucking tote, I was like, oh, this is why this guy was saying all that shit before, because he fucking knew these were empty. So, you know, lesson learned. I'm still going to buy storage units if the opportunity presents. There's a storage unit auction tomorrow in person. So I'm going to try to go over to that. It's just up the street. We'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky. But yeah, the guy who bought it too, he looked familiar, and I finally remembered that he has yard sales. You know, they do a big yard sale every year, like a town-wide yard sale, and he has a yard sale as part of that. And every time, he usually he has a big-ass lawn, and he always just sets up a shit ton of tables, and he's got a ton of stuff that I'm sure he gets out of storage units. And he charges so much money for it. Like every time I've gone to his sale, and he'll have other people that are set up there with him, like other flea market people. They're all making deals, and he won't make fucking deals. So I'm sure he just sits with a lot of this shit, and I just don't understand the mentality of some of those old... Oh, hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry. It was so loud. I told them, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be doing a podcast downstairs. Come to me and quietly let me know that you need me to come up there. And she has her headphones on, so she's just screaming up at the top of the stairs. She wanted Paw Patrol changed. So that was what that whole thing was about. And then, so yesterday I was on Marketplace, and oh my gosh, hold on a second. All right, I'm back again. That's being a parent, man. I'm up there helping one of them. Ask the other one, you need anything? No, I'm good. Literally 30 seconds in, after sitting down, I hear her calling me from upstairs that she needs help. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, I'm home yesterday. My kid's, you know, home from school sick. And I'm on Marketplace. And this lady posted, it was a 1988, it said, on the back it said Summer Tour 1988. And it was Grateful Dead. Had like the, you know, Grateful Dead symbol on the front. Single stitch tie-dye t-shirt. Really fucking cool shirt. She had it listed for $20. And it was like 30 minutes had gone by. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to message this lady, but there's no way this is still here. It was like a 30-minute drive to pick it up, but I messaged her. I'm like, hey, I can pick this up, at your earliest convenience. Let me know. Da, 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 da. And she messaged me back. She's like, yeah, let me know if this time works. And if you can meet me here, that'd be perfect. I'm like, awesome. It's an older lady. You can tell because she's like, oh, I was pregnant. So this is the story she tells me when she picks it up. When I pick it up, she's like, I was pregnant during that show. Like, I had tickets to that show, got pregnant, and I couldn't go. I wanted to be like, you could still go to a show pregnant. Like, you just don't. It's a Grateful Dead show. Like, there's not going to be people fighting, or, there might be some weed smoke. But even at that time, they probably weren't like worried about that shit. People are still smoking inside restaurants. So she's like, yeah, I couldn't go. So she's like, I sold my ticket to some college kid, for what I paid for it. She's like, I think I paid $20 for the ticket. She's like, and I had him get me this T-shirt, and I've never worn it since. She's never worn it. She just had him get her the T-shirt, and yeah, it's like a size XL, like pretty fucking sweet shirt. And so when I got there to meet up with her, she's like, yeah, I got like 6 messages after I confirmed with you. She's like, I guess I sold it for too little, but what are you gonna do? I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do? So I mean, I gotta look it up. I'm assuming it's probably a $200 plus T-shirt. It's it looks like it's been not worn ever. Really clean, no tears, nothing. It's been kept in pristine condition. So I was pretty happy about that. Facebook Marketplace is very hit or miss. Oh, and then that's the other thing. I forgot. That's what I completely forgot. Saturday. Fuck. So yeah, Saturday. There's somebody posts Magic the Gathering cards, like a huge tote of them, and like a box of them for $50. And I don't know a ton about Magic, but for that price, I know I've sold lots of Magic cards just in bulk before, and they sell for like, a good amount of money. So $50 for thousands of cards. I was like, fuck yeah. So I messaged them. They're like, yeah, I can meet up. So I have to meet at a storage unit. It's like not far from the storage unit where I just had this heartbreak 2 days before. So I go meet at the storage unit, and I always fuck this up, but it was a woman or a man who had transitioned into a woman. But he didn't transition. Like, there's 100% no, like, this person did not do any of the extra stuff. It was just a dude, like, with, like, shit stuffed into his chest. Super nice. I mean, kind of a fucking out of his mind, her mind, sorry. But, yeah, so they're like, they were like, yeah, the person inside told me I was crazy for selling this for $50, but I get called crazy all the time. I'm like, anybody who's like in the first 2 seconds of meeting you is like, yeah, I proudly wear that I'm crazy. I'm like, okay. But it was just like a middle-aged person. It was a middle-aged dude, who identified as a woman, I guess. But there was definitely no extra effort. Like, the dick and the balls were definitely still there. Maybe not, but like, but yeah, it was, you meet all types of people when you're picking shit up. So I'm not, knocking this person. I'm not like, hey, this person's fucking shouldn't exist or anything like that. It was just a very odd interaction. You know what I mean? They were like, it was like I was talking to a middle-aged dude. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, you know what I mean? It was like firm handshake. It was just like dude speak. Like, it was just a very odd interaction. I was like, all right, cool. And so, yeah. And I asked them, I was like, if you have anything else, let me know. I'll come meet up with you again. So, yeah, they were very nice. And I was very happy to get that fucking huge haul. But it was just a very confused. I never know what people are going for. I'm like, what is the end goal here? What's happening? So, that was my cool pickup. That was pretty fun. I was pretty pumped about that. So yeah, that added to, like, turning the weekend around, because otherwise it would have sucked. What are you thinking? I don't know what my wife's asking me about. Hold on. Anyway, all right. So I was going through like my old comics and stuff, just for whatever reason, and I found Batman Damned #3, and that was the comic book that had um, at the time it was like, oh, this is going to be a valuable comic because it showed Batman's dick or Bruce Wayne's dick. Um, so that was like the whole. It was like controversial because they stopped making it with Batman's dick in it, and the BatWang, and so I bought that. I was working selling cell phones, and I was looking for like a side hustle. And I was like, I want to start investing in like something like that I like. I've got money kicking around, and so that was the first one. I was like, I'm gonna buy this comic book. I think at the time I bought it on eBay for like $40. It's probably like a $20 not even book now. But that was like technically the purchase that started me into reselling, because I bought that and I was like, all right, like I can buy stuff and either invest in it or like flip it down the road. And so that kind of planted the seed. And so as I'm like looking through my comic books and I find this book, I'm just thinking like my whole career now, what I do, like the fact that I love my job, the fact that like, you know, I have the freedom to do what I want to do. I can stay home with my kids, still not have to worry about money. And it's all thanks to BatWang, to Bruce Wayne's dick. Because if it wasn't for Bruce Wayne's dick being shown in a book, I probably would not have bought that book, and I probably would have just kept on my way. You know what I mean? Like it just would have not hit my radar if it wasn't for Batman's dick. So shout out to Batman's dick for my entire career, my business, my livelihood. You know, it's all thanks to that. I couldn't have done it without the dick. So I appreciate that. I think I've run out of stuff to talk to, and I'm only at like 40 minutes today. Let me think. I think I can probably. I did a whatnot last week. We did a whatnot last week. I could talk about that. What did we do for whatnot last week? Coins. Oh, fuck. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. So we had like years ago, I found, I bought this giant thing of coins, and it was just all like, there's nothing like valuable, or like there was a couple like maybe $20 coins, or I sold a couple for like $10 back in the day. But I was like, I don't want to sit and list all of these coins. So, I'm looking for shit in my space where I keep all my stuff. I'm trying to find something that I can sell for the next whatnot. And, I find this big thing of coins, and it's all these foreign coins. Some antique, some vintage, whatever. They're all old. And so I advertise that in the title and listing and all that stuff, that we've got these coins. And my wife, because I was like, this is what I didn't want to have to deal with, going through them, separating them, this, that, the other. So my wife spent a bunch of time going through them, separating them, like labeling them, so we knew like what we had when we would go through them. And we get to the show, and it probably didn't do. I was trying to hold my phone and like go through the coins as I was going through it, which wasn't working. But we didn't really have a better way to do it. And I sold like 2 things of coins to my friend Dan, who supports the show. Shout out Dan. And flip the table if he's not doing reselling anymore. But go follow him. Maybe that'll motivate him to get back into it. But he bought a couple things for me for like $1 each, and that was it. So we spent all that time. And I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to just sell this in a lot. And she's like, well, you're not going to like separate them, are you? I'm like, well, I kind of have to. It's going to be hard to take pictures of all these things in like these little, because they're all in penny sleeves. So they're not like sealed. So there's just going to be falling out of the bag. So I'm like, we're just going to have to like either seal these all up, which I don't want to do, or we could just dump them all in a thing and do a big lot together. And she's kind of bummed that she did all that work. But I'm like, that's fucking part of this fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, I've had to do a ton of work for the whatnot that just has not really panned out financially. It just fucking happens. You know what I mean? So she was cool with it. It is what it is. It happens. She's felt the pain of reselling a little bit. That's all I can ask. So, fantasy football playoffs start this week. I'm in. So a couple weeks ago I was playing and I pulled one of my guys like the last minute. Fucking minute left to the lineup's locked, and I was like overthinking it. Should have just put my phone down and walked away. Overthinking, and I switched out Bucky Irving for Woody Marks, if that means anything to you. And cost me that week. I lost that week. Would have won had I played him, just left it alone. And then it cost, because I lost that week, I missed out on winning the division. So if I had won the division, I would have got $100. But because I pulled him, I missed out on winning the division by like a couple points. And then I missed out on high points of the year by like a fraction of a point. And again, those points would have been covered had I kept Bucky Irving in. So yeah, $200 I think is what it cost me, that last second switch. So, that was the first time I really second guessed myself all season. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. I am glad. So my daughter was just asking me permission to watch something, which I like. They know like I pay attention to what they fucking watch, because there's some shit out there that you're like, you put on and it's like not, it says it's for kids and it's not for kids. You're like, what the fuck is this? Thankfully they're not into YouTube. Like I know YouTube is too. I was on YouTube at the inception. You know what I mean? When it was the Wild West, and it's better now, but there's still like, there's videos that people post on there and they can just put that it's educational. And there's like a dude who like shows his fucking balls and shit. He's like trying to tell you how to do like, testicular exams and prostate exams. And it's like, that shouldn't be just on there for kids to fucking stumble on. I don't know if that shit's still on there. I know it was for a while. There's like what was it? Your Mom's House, I think, podcast. They were doing segments on it just because it was so ridiculous. And, so I'm glad she asked me. She's like, can I watch this? I'm like, does it have any weirdo stuff in it? I usually say weirdo shit. I don't say weirdo shit to them. But there's nothing weird on there, right? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, and I'll watch it for a few minutes and make sure. Check back in. But like, I don't just put them on the fucking thing. Like, go nuts, dude. Watch whatever you want. So I try to keep it so that they, it's good that they asked me. I'm glad that they asked me. So she'll check and be like, can I watch this? Like, let me see what it is. Let me check out first. Which is what you should be doing, dude. You should fucking check on what your kids are watching. I mean, our parents be like, you can't watch this. But like the stuff that my parents didn't want me to watch was just like, like wrestling. Obviously, I wasn't allowed to listen to Eminem. But that's like, that's when I was older. Like this stuff is like stuff that's just like weird shit. It's like, why is this in a kid's show? Or stuff that's like intentionally scary. And you're like, well, why is this so scary? Like, this is fucking terrifying for me. These kids are gonna have nightmares. So, I'm very cognizant of what my kids watch and consume. You leave them on fucking YouTube. God knows what the fuck they're watching. Who fucking knows? But anyway, back to fantasy football. So I'm in the playoffs now. I went from the first spot, fucking lost $200. Missed out on $200. And then, so this week is the first week of playoffs, and we get to choose. I didn't know that was the case, but we get to choose who we're going to go against. So the first two people picked, and there's two people left. And of course, they're the two harder opponents. So I went with the harder of the two. And I traded him Josh Allen. He wouldn't be here. He wouldn't even be in this situation if I didn't trade him Josh Allen. You might be asking, Perry, why did you trade Josh Allen? It's because I don't believe in Josh Allen the last 3 weeks, the weeks of the playoffs. I don't. He's done it enough to where you see, like, he can do fucking crazy things, but I don't think he's making it out of the Patriots game with more than like 20 points. And I hope. That's what I hope. But, you never know. I'm taking a risk. And I hope, like I said, the only time I fucked up this season was when I second guessed myself. I had the feeling that should be the opponent since the second it was announced, and that's who I went with. So I'm either going to look like the biggest fucking idiot on the planet, or I'm going to look like a fucking genius and I'm going to win the ship. But we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. If the show's not on next week and, I jumped off a bridge, you'll know why. No, I'm not going to fucking kill myself over fantasy football. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't fucking kill myself over... I don't think I would ever kill myself. If my family, died, maybe. But I don't even think so. It depends on the situation. If it was like somebody did it to them, then I'm going Frank Castle, I'm killing everybody. But, yeah, I probably wouldn't kill myself. Most likely. I don't even know why the fuck I'm talking about. I definitely would not. Especially over fantasy football. I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah. Yeah, another weekend coming up. We're going to be in a different state this weekend. So I have to start looking for estate sales and see if there's anything out there. Again, it's the off season, and we're going to a place it's just as cold as we are. We're going to Connecticut, so they don't have shit, shit for hot weather right now, especially. So we'll see how that goes. I've been selling some stuff. Black Friday obviously was the best day. I talked about that, but I've been selling stuff consistently and mixing in big stuff. And I have a ton of video games still left to list. I listed 4 video games 2 days ago. I wasn't good at listing yesterday. I listed a console yesterday, and that console already sold. The day before, I listed 4 video games. 2 of them sold that day, and then yesterday, 1 of them sold. So it's I've got the stuff right now that I need to sell. I just haven't had a ton of time to list it. I've got my last week of school until break. Fuck, man. And then 2 more semesters and I'm done. I'm not even considering continuing my education. I'm like, is there a way I can just be done with it now and you just give me my certificate? But I had just had my final assignment for my full-length semester class, my marketing class. And the entire time I'm writing, taking notes and shit for having to do a paper. And then I read the assignment and it's you could do a PowerPoint or you could do a paper. I'm like, I'm going to do a fucking PowerPoint all day. You know what I mean? Just basically taking information and then putting in your own words onto a little project. It took me a little while to do the project, but if you know how to use PowerPoint, it's pretty quick. So I ended up doing that PowerPoint. I don't know how I did on it yet, so we'll see how I did. But that's done, and then I got 1 more week, and then I'm hoping that I'll have some time. The holidays are wrapping up. I'm hoping I'll have some time to get the podcast onto video. That's that's the next step. I started posting more videos on Instagram, and you can tell even the shitty videos that I post, I'm not good at posting videos, but even the ones I've been posting have had significantly more views than the ones that are just a reel of a picture that I did. So I've started to do more videos, put myself in the videos a little bit more. And, the follower count is going up. And hopefully the podcast can grow. I still want to do a Patreon. I still have another podcast show that I want to do on the Patreon. But we're just not quite there yet. We're getting there. The followers of the show, if you guys have been listening, we're coming up on 89. I think this is 89th episode. So 90 will be next week. And then there's just 10 more episodes till we hit that 100 mark. And, I'm pretty happy with hitting 100 episodes. It would have been nice to do it in 2 years, but a little over 2 years is all right. We kind of missed a few weeks when we were first getting started. It was hard to podcast for an hour when I first started. Obviously I've ran out of stuff to talk about now, but we can still talk for a little bit. So, but yeah, when I first started the podcast, trying to talk for an hour about this shit was a struggle. This was probably a struggle for you. There were some episodes, and I was tired. That was 2 years ago. My youngest daughter was 1. You know what I mean? So that was right in the thick of just sleep deprivation, and I suck with sleep deprivation. I get cranky. I remember I did an episode called low energy Perry, because I was so fucking tired that I just was I was falling asleep podcasting. So it's a little bit different than when we started. You know what I mean? We're little progressions here and there. That's what you want to see without changing the format. We've kept the format. Just me fucking telling you stories about podcasting. Well, yeah, about podcasting, about yard sales, everything that goes into this. And it's been fun. I really like doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. So here's to, we'll get to that 100th episode. I'm going to probably do a giveaway, like a giveaway on the Instagram, and it'll be on here first. I'll post it on here. So you'll have extra opportunities to enter whatever the giveaway is if you enter through the podcast and through Instagram. So I got to figure that out. But that's coming up soon. And then this Monday, I thought it was this last Monday. I've been fucking up the days for this month. Like, this is the second time I've done it. For some reason, I want it to be Christmas. I'm like a child, apparently. So, fuck, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So this Monday, I'm going to start trying to do podcast appearances on other people's podcasts. So this will be the first one I'm doing. It's a friend of mine. I talked about it a little bit. I believe the show's called Behind the Lines with Chris Kern. And Chris Kern and I used to play football together in high school, my junior year. And he was like just a freak athlete. Smaller guy, though. So like football was not, you know what I mean? Football wasn't in the cards for him. Unfortunately, I mean, I think he knows. I think he would say that too. I don't think I'm saying anything that's like, I'm not going to insult him before I go on his podcast by saying that. But he was fucking so good. You know what I mean? He played, I think, corner. But they used him as a wide receiver. He's small though. He's shorter than me. I'm short, but he could jump fucking super high and was super fast. So we played football together. Sorry for going down memory lane. And not ran into each other. He invited me to that thing, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony a couple weeks ago that I went to. So he was the one who invited me to that. So I'm going to be going to his podcast, getting interviewed. So I'm excited about that. I will definitely be promoting that. And so yeah, I'm going to try. If you know any other podcasts that you think I should try to get on, or if you have a podcast that you'd like to have me on, let me know. I'm going to be trying to do a little bit more promotion, start getting the word out a little bit now that I'm not terrible at podcasting. This is my third podcast. I should be okay by now. So the first one was, that was where I really I didn't really struggle because it was interview based. I used to do interviews. So I didn't really, it wasn't a struggle to get to an hour. Sometimes it was a struggle to get information out of people, but for the most part, it was, I found that easier than this at first. Obviously this is easier now because it's just me. I just get set up, I throw the fucking microphone on, and it just fucking spills out, my heart and soul spills out. So, I'm excited to get a little bit of a break, so I could start reworking that. I just got that new phone, so I don't know if I can use that. I was doing the video part on my iPhone for a while, and it was doing okay, and then like it would just randomly stop. So I would do all this setup to get the phone working, record, get to the end of the podcast, and go back, and like the phone cut off at like 10 minutes. But like everything else recorded, the audio, I just didn't have the video. So, I got to figure that out. And then once I get that squared away, we'll have video. And I think that'll be a game changer. I'll be able to post clips. Yeah. So, always trying to think about the next step. I got to set some goals for 2025. You should be setting your goal, or 2026. You should be setting your goals right now. New Year's resolutions. I'm a big believer in New Year's resolutions. You know what I mean? I didn't always take it seriously, but I always try to have like one or two. Like I'm gonna do something. I need to stop zins. I had a zin in this whole time. You could probably hear me fucking lisping. But yeah, I'm not like crazy on the zins like some people. But yeah, it's enough to where it's like, all right, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like you quit smoking cigarettes and now you're just doing these fucking things. So that's on my list, but that's like one that's just kind of, that'll be an easy one. I'll bang that out. Those are always ones you're like, all right, I'm just going to do a bunch until the new year, and then I'm fucking done. I'll do so much that I'm done. I don't want to do it. But yeah, definitely set some goals. it's yeah. I wasn't a big person on goals when I was younger. I've talked about this before. There's this girl I was smoking with, friend of me and my wife, and I don't even remember where we were. Maybe it was like a party. It was a wedding, I think. We came back for a wedding. I think that's what it was, or maybe that's where I told. I don't remember. I was drinking, I was smoking, and hanging out with this chick. Not like, we weren't like hanging out, like hooking up. She was just a friend from that I used to work with, and she was just like asking me about my goals or something. We were like smoking and we were fucking high. She's like, "You don't have any goals?" It's like, "No." Am I supposed to? Like, I'm just trying to get to the next day. And that was just like, having somebody say that, and like, I still remember to this day. And I told her years after that, I saw her, I think at the wedding is when I was thinking of. And I saw her and I was like, do you remember saying that to me? She's like, no. I was like, well, I fucking do. You know what I mean? Same with that guy. I was like, you should not be wasting your time on your phone. Just use your phone to do something. And I built a business with my phone. So you just got to listen when people talk to you sometimes. Even if it's from somebody that's like, like the guy who told me that, he wasn't like somebody who I was like, I respected. It wasn't like somebody I was like, oh, like, but he did, he was a good salesman, except for the fact that he like lied to customers and shit. Yeah, he did. He wasn't a great salesman because he did that, but he sold a lot of shit. And he was like the guy that whenever his customers would come into the store after he sold them something, he would find a way to be busy, and then you'd have to deal with it while he was making more money on another person because he didn't do his job correctly at all. So you'd be like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, and he wouldn't respond to me. So, yeah, he was like that guy. So the last person that should be giving me advice. But he gave me advice, and for some reason I was like, I hung on that advice. And, yeah, I'm glad I did. It just really depends. Like the dude in second grade. Again, I'm going down memory lane here, but this dude in second grade handed me a cassette. I fucking hated this guy. He handed me a cassette, and he was moving. He's moving. I don't know if this was his way of like burying the hatchet before he moved on or what, but we were in second grade, and he handed me a tape, and it was Nirvana. It was like the copied fucking copy of the Nirvana thing, the logo, and then it was a taped on recorded tape, and it had the Nirvana Nevermind album and then like 3 songs from Metallica. And that was it. I was hooked on fucking rock music and shit like that. So you never know where the inspiration or the motivation or whatever is going to come from, but you better be fucking listening when it does, because if not, you never know. You're gonna BatWang, dude, a fucking bat dick. I think somebody just told me about that, and I was like, hey, I'll listen to that. It didn't really work out with that one, but it set me on the path. So I was just staring. We have a sign up in my house. Sorry, this is the last thing, and I'm going to go. Now I'm going over. It says Merry and Bright. It's like a Christmas thing. And I just was staring at this thing, trying to figure out what the second word was for. And I know what it says, but it looked like the R looked like an A. So I was like, Merry and Bait? What the fuck does bait mean? And then it just took me that long to be like, oh, Merry and Bright. So anyway, Christmas is coming, guys. It's the holiday season. Get your shopping done. Get your shit listed. It's only like, I think there are 6 more days to get shit on time. So like, just list. That's all I'm going to be doing when I can. It's just trying to list as much as I can. So, all right, that's the podcast. Again, if you like it, subscribe, tell your friends, hit the notification so you know every time a new episode drops. And if you're around tonight, check us out on Whatnot at 8:30 p.m. Wednesday, if you're listening to this when it drops today. If not, check us out. We'll be doing shows through the end of the year. Like I said, we're doing New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve. And yeah, we're just going to chill. If you want to hang out, fucking come check us out. Thank you, and I'll talk to you next week. Peace.